Week 17 of the 2023-24 NBA season is over, which means it's time to run it back. This is Run It Back, NBA Week in Review, Los Angeles Clippers edition. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thebeachbasket.net, and formerly the featured columnist covering the Clippers for Bleacher Report. This is the show where we recap the week that was for the Los Angeles Clippers and then highlight their marquee matchup for the week to come. Let's start by taking a look at where the team lands on the Peach Basket's objective power rankings this week. Clippers were 1-1 in week number 17, as I predicted last week, with a win over the Golden State Warriors on the road and a disheartening loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves at home. To be fair, I did predict a 1-1 record. I got that right, but I got the win and loss wrong. I really thought they would send a message to the Timberwolves and lose at home to the rejuvenated Warriors. A little bit more on that later, though. I just had a feeling that the Clippers would rise to the occasion. That's what this time of the season is about. It's about ramping up, getting ready for the playoffs, and sending messages to the teams you probably have to go through. But instead of sending a message to the Timberwolves and remain ahead of them in the standings, there was no message. They lost. And they didn't look good in the process. That loss made the game in San Francisco very important. The Clippers did not want to go into the All-Star break losing 2 in a row. To their credit, in a crazy game, where they didn't play their best throughout, they were able to pull off a big win. Because it's a short week, the 1-1 record did not cost the Clippers too much as they stay at number 4 in the West and number 5 overall in the Peach Basket's objective power rankings. Now let's take a look at the best to do it in key categories for the Clippers. Last week we called out that the Clippers are unique in that they have a different person normally in each key category. We see that again this week. Paul George led the way with 25 points per game over his 3 games played. James Harden had the most 3-point field goals made with an average of 3 in his 3 games. PG again led the way with 9 field goals made on average. Ivica Zubac was the top rebounder, pulling down 8.7 rebounds. Big Zoo was also the top defensive rebounder with an average of 6.7. Kawhi and Zoo shared top offensive rebounding numbers with 2. James Harden once again led in assists with 7, and Zubac led with blocks at 1.7 on average. Paul George had the most steals, averaging 2 a game. Again, always good to call out different names in these categories. That speaks to how well-rounded these Clippers are. PG was the most efficient player based on a game score of 24. Week 18 will have the Clippers returning from the All-Star game break and facing a bit of a Western Conference gauntlet when they return. They start on the road against the OKC Thunder. Then they travel to Memphis for a game against the Grizzlies. Finally, they finished the week at home against the Sacramento Kings. Now, to be fair, this would have been a real gauntlet last season, but this season the Grizzlies, even at home, aren't quite what they used to be. Regardless, the games against the Kings and absolutely against the Thunder are going to be big games. The marquee matchup has to be that game against the Thunder, the team that are only a half game behind in the Western Conference standings. Teams with championship aspirations are going to flip a switch after the All-Star game. And that's what I kind of alluded to a little bit earlier. The Clippers are a team with championship aspirations. I actually think when I look at Week 18, and maybe I'm overly optimistic here, but I see them going 3-0. And there's a big reason why, which we'll get to here in a minute. Now, there's definitely some drama around the Clippers right now with PJ Tucker and Bones Highland being sent home from the last road trip. Questions about Kawhi Leonard's health, which obviously changes everything. Either one of those two things could derail the Clippers, no doubt. But assuming Kawhi is okay, praying Kawhi is okay, and hopefully Tucker and Highland get things situated, I think the Clippers run the table. If all of those things don't turn into something more than they already are. I'll end with a quick look at the Clippers news. I like to call this full court press. I just type in Los Angeles Clippers and see if anything interesting and worth talking about comes up on page 1. Today, these 2 articles caught my eye. We'll start with one called Kawhi Leonard Says Clippers Need to Get Better at It Before It Starts Getting Real by Helene Elliott for the LA Times. Now, I called this one out because it really speaks to what I was saying before. After the All-Star break, players know, right? We're down to a third of the season left, 27 some odd games, depending on the team. And it's time to ramp up. It's time to send a message when you can. It's time to stop experimenting with your lineups. It's time to get things right. And I really appreciate Kawhi Leonard, the leader of this team, a champion, someone who's been there before, getting his team ready. He said to them, get better at it before it starts to get real. And that's what a leader does. And that's why I think coming out of the All-Star break, the Clippers are going to go full speed ahead. They're going to want to flip that switch, to play better, to send messages. And they've been playing pretty good already. So if they can ramp it up a little, if they can follow their team leader and get a little bit better, understand things are getting real, this is going to be a dangerous team in the second half of the All-Star break. Next article is Steph Curry's honest statement on James Harden after Clippers v. Warriors by Joey Lynn for Sports Illustrated All Clippers. Now, this one I like because when I covered the Clippers for Bleacher Report, it was at a time when the team was not particularly good. Quite honestly, they were laughably bad. And there was no respect given to the team. There was no accolades. There was nothing, right? It was a pat on the behind and a nice game JV team. That was really the way it was. And so, having seen the evolution, right, of the Clippers, it's neat to me to see someone like Steph Curry call out that there's something special happening with the Clippers. Curry said, it's always special. Me and James, the same draft, had a lot of battles back and forth over the years. Russ in there, PG. We're all still trying to play at a high level. There's a lot of mutual respect. There's a lot of competition too. Hate losing to them. I think the same. I think they feel the same way. It's not glowing, right? It's not saying anything that you wouldn't expect him to say about these players, but when that's directed at a team that came from where the Clippers came from, it's pretty heartwarming, and it feels good. It feels good to get those kind of accolades. The Clippers have been good for a long time. There's a group of NBA fans today that have never known the Clippers to be bad, which blows my mind. But those things, for those of us who saw the Clippers when they were laughably bad, statements like this mean a little something. It's pretty cool. That's it. Week 17 of the Clippers 2023-24 NBA season is in the books. Join us next week after the All-Star game break and after week number 18 when we once again run it back.